Welcome to another Genshin Interact video. My name is Vixen, and today I'm joined by Rift and Concordia. This will be our first video on build guides. Let us know down in the comments if this guide was helpful or if you have any other tips about the character that was not discussed in the video. As always, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for future content. Thank you for watching. Now on to the video. The first thing we should discuss are his 3 talents and their priorities in leveling them up. Wanderer's kit is heavily based off of his skill. His skill is his main way of damage, very much like Hu Tao, Hazo, and others. Wanderer jumps up into the air, entering his wind-favored state, allowing him to fly while using a separate stamina bar that is used when you sprint mid-air, dash, normal attack, and charged attack. In this state, he cannot plunge attack. If you wish to get out of his wind-favored state, you can simply hit the elemental skill button again, and he exits his flying state. But the CD is still the same whether you stay in his wind-favored state for 1 second or you stay the entire time. His skill should be your top priority in leveling up. If you are looking to crown him at all, this talent should be first. His normal attacks are a second priority. His skill enhances the damage of his normal attacks, which increases the talent level of both his skill and normals, which will make your Wanderer do that much more damage and become that much more lethal. If you have the crowns to get his skill and normal to level 10, then I would say to crown both of these. If you only have 1 crown for him, go for his skill. Third priority is his burst. I would recommend you veteran players to get this talent to level 8, maybe even 9, but you do not have to crown. Crowning his burst is purely just an extra touch of damage and, in my own opinion, is not needed to make your Wanderer at full potential. Crowning the burst is for quality of life. While talking about his talents and what level his talents should be, Ascension stages need to be discussed as well. Getting Wanderer to his last Ascension stage will give him an extra dose of crit rate, which will make him even more lethal more consistently. If you do not have the Hero's Wit to level him up to 90, still ascend him past 80, but do not level him up to 90. He is worth to get the extra attack if you have the Hero's Wit to put into him. Also remember that Wanderer ascends into crit rate, which allows you to play with more attack percent and crit damage on his other parts of his kit, like his weapon and artifacts.
Next, we will be discussing Wanderer's passive talents. His first passive talent that can be gained is the most well-known part of his kit and makes his numbers increase. This passive talent upgrades his skill by allowing him to gain certain buffs if he comes into contact with certain elements when he initiates his skill and during his skill. If he comes into contact with Hydro, Sky Dweller points are increased by 20, which allows his stamina to be larger and gives him more time in the air with more attacks. Pyro increases his attack by 30%. Cryo increases crit rate by 20%. Electro increases energy gain by when doing normals and charged. A big thing to remember is that you can only have 2 of these buffs at once. His other passive talent gives him a 16% chance to gain the descent effect by doing normal and charged attacks in his wind-favored state. If you do not gain the descent effect on the first normal or charged attack, then each next attack is given a 12% increased chance to gain the descent effect if it is still not given. The descent effect sends 4 Anemo arrows that each deal 35% of his attack when the Wanderer dashes in his wind-favored state. Make sure to get to level 60 to gain both talents so your Wanderer can dish out the most damage he can. Another integral piece of any character is the artifact sets. Desert Pavilion Chronicle, a new 4-piece set opened in the desert, was specifically made for Wanderer. The 2-piece of this set gives a 15% Anemo damage bonus. The 4-piece set increases normal attack speed by 10% and increases normal, charged, and plunging damage by 40% when charged attack hits opponents. You do not need to be in your wind-favored state to gain this effect. This 4-piece set is the best for Wanderer and will increase his personal damage and ensure his role as a DPS. Another 4-piece set that can work with him is Viridescent Venerer. This 4-piece set has been out for a long time now, so you may already have some good pieces in this set if you do not wish to spend all the resin on the new artifact domain. Viridescent can also be gained by weekly bosses passively and can be gained through the Strongbox, which takes your bad artifacts and replaces them with some sets, Viridescent being one of them. Some 2-piece options are 2-piece Viridescent for a 15% animo damage bonus and 2-piece Gladiator's Finale for the 18% attack increase. Vermilion Hereafter and Shimanawa's Reminiscence both give the 18% attack increase. You can combine the 2-piece Viridescent with any of the attack percent increase sets, or you can double the attack percent sets as well. Once again though, Desert Pavilion Chronicle is Wanderer's personal set and will benefit him the most.
The next major part of the Wanderer's build is his weapon. He's got a few different options that can be beneficial to him. Obviously, his best in slot will be his signature 5-star Tule Tula's Remembrance. The main stat of crit damage is a tad lower than some other 5-star weapons, but the abilities of this weapon makes up for it in a big way. When equipped, normal attack speed is increased by 10%, and after you use an elemental skill, normal attack damage is increased by 4.8% every second for 14 seconds. When you hit an enemy with his normal attacks during the 14 seconds, normal attack damage is increased by 9.6%. The second effect can be triggered every 0.3 seconds. However, the max normal attack damage that can be gained from this effect caps at 48%. The effect is removed when the wielder of the weapon leaves the field or the 14 seconds is over. If the elemental skill is used again during the 14-second duration, then the normal attack damage buff is reset. Beyond his signature weapon, one that can work in place is Kagura's Verity. Verity has about 15% more crit damage, but it loses out on the fast-paced damage as it lacks the normal attack speed increase that his best in slot has. Verity's ability gives the equipping a character 12% elemental skill damage, but the Wanderer's skill only increases his normal attack and charge attack damage, which means that Verity's buff is not going to carry over to his normal charge attacks that you initiate while in flight. Besides these two weapons, the other 5-star catalysts are usable, but there are some 4-star weapons that outshine them. Purchasing the Battle Pass gives you the option to obtain Solar Pearl, which comes with a crit rate stat, but its ability can be a little tricky, although rewarding if you use it right. Using normal attacks increase elemental skill and burst damage, and vice versa. Elemental skill and burst damage increases normal attack damage. Since his attacks and his skill are considered as normal and charge damage, his initial skill activation that lifts him into the air and his bursts are the ways to get the extra boost in normal attack damage. Using his burst at the end of an airborne sequence could be an ideal way to trigger this increase for the next time you launch into the air and start the rotation over again. Because of this, Solar Pearl has the potential to be his second best in slot. As mentioned before, Wanderer ascends into crit rate, and adding a crit rate circlet could easily set you at just above 50% crit rate, even without counting substats on other artifacts. This allows you to focus more on increasing his crit damage and attack percent on your artifacts if you're using Solar Pearl. The Widsith is another 4-star that can also be used since it has a main stat of crit damage and is fairly free to play option. Each of these weapons has their own play style, and there are plenty of other weapons that could work in different teams, but these are the most reliable weapons for your Wanderer.
Following weapons, we now look at his constellations. His first constellation increases attack speed in his wind-favored state. This constellation also deals an additional 25% of his attack as damage to the wind arrows in his passive talent. Pretty obvious, but it must be said, you have to have his second passive talent unlocked at level 60 in order to get the extra damage. His second constellation increases his burst damage in his wind-favored state. His third constellation increases his skill level by 3. His fourth constellation gives an extra random buff of the 4 buffs in his wind-favored state, as well as the 2 other elements he comes into contact with. This allows 3 buffs to be used simultaneously. The fifth constellation increases the level of his burst by 3. His sixth constellation gives an extra 40% of the original normal attack damage while he is in the wind-favored state. This constellation also gives 4 Sky Dweller points when Wanderer falls under 40 Sky Dweller points. This second effect can be triggered once every 0.2 seconds and can be done up to 5 times during one wind-favored duration. This constellation allows you to do more damage in his skill state as well as stay in the air longer to do more damage.
Some constellations provide unique buffs for Wanderer, but a lot of his overall damage is going to come from simply running him with a team that can help him obtain his element infusion buffs. Because of his skill and the passive talent giving buffs to element he swirls with his attacks, his potential drastically increases with having 2 different elements in his team besides Animo, but no more. If you have the luxury of owning Farazan, she is one of the best characters that can work well with Wanderer due to her burst reducing the enemy's Animo resistance and buff buffing Animo damage bonus as well. Bennett, of course, is always an amazing support to pair with Wander thanks to his healing and providing a massive attack bonus on his burst. Bennett also enables Wander Pyro Swirl, which increases Wander's attack by an additional 30%. Jinkyu can consistently apply Hydro from off-field and, due to Wander's passive, keeps him in the air longer. If you're lacking on crit rate, then Diona can be of use in place of Bennett since she can heal, freeze with Jinkyu, and gives 20% crit rate to Wander when you spoils Cryo. If you have Diona C6, she will also grant 200 Elemental Mastery to party members within her burst AoE. Overall, swirl reactions are going to be key for Wander to function at his full potential, so Dendro-related reactions are not going to be as important for him at the time being. In general, teammates that can apply their elements from off-field is the best way to go for Wander, so characters such as Yelan, Fischl, or even other Animo units like Kazuha and Venti are all characters to try out and combine to give Wander certain combat and capability buffs that suit your preference.
Now, we will show gameplay of the Wanderer in Floor 12 of the Abyss to give an idea of what you can expect from him at full investment. Enjoy the showcase.
That finishes the gameplay portion of the video. If you have any extra tips or tricks you know or use with your own Wanderer, please go ahead and let us know in the comments. We want to thank everyone for watching our first build guide and look to many more. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one.